you look at the history of hurricanes and storms, you'll find thousands of accounts of lots of things that don't evaporate, nonetheless falling out of the sky. Problems because of toxic air, that oil and water simply do not mix. It's impossible that it could rain oil. And yet Michio Kaku, who's a scientist, says, oh, yes, it can. If it can rain frogs and fishes, it can pick up oil blobs. It can pick up oil slime, and it can throw it anywhere. I don't know where these naysayers and disinformation people are coming from, but I think they're getting scared now that because business is way off into coastal regions, that they're getting afraid that this is going to have an impact on them. Well, it should. These people that are naysayers are actually murderers, and I will not apologize for that remark. BP, the CDC, and the rest of them are likewise murderers because they're not informing the people down on the Gulf that breathing this stuff, once you get it in your system, it's in your system permanently. It cooks parts of your system. You don't ever get rid of it. The people up at the Valdez oil spill, most of them, the vast majority of them, with few exceptions, have already died from this stuff. They've had nurses come out and say, look, you can't breathe this stuff. But BP is saying, oh, not to worry, no problem. Well, of course, there's a reason for it. If they tell the workers that are in there cleaning all this stuff up the real truth, they'd quit. There will be no cleanup. You got to remember, these people are expendable. They're just useless eaters. It's like the BP executive who called us little people. To them, we're just cannon fodder. We're useless eaters. The elite, because they have made money, all of a sudden are just, they are the kings of the planet. And their life is worth, 50 million of your lives. This is their attitude. It really is. I flew with the rich. They have a very weird, sick, insane attitude towards the little people and their servants. It's just the way it is. But the people are going to wake up, according to the bots. Now, I'm not telling you to believe the bots, but the bots say, well, the people are going to wake up, going to be a big killing spree go on against the elite. And the politicians, unfortunately. They're dupes of the Illuminati. And anyway, it says, coming Gulf firestorm. It's hurricane season in the Atlantic. That means Mother Nature could be whipping up fierce storms and sending them charging into the Gulf Coast any day now. In a normal hurricane season, well, that's bad enough all by itself, remember Katrina? But now there's something even more worrisome in the recipe. There's oil in the water. So what happens when a Katrina-class hurricane comes along, picks up a few million gallons of oil, and then drops that volatile liquid on a major U.S. city? Let's say like Galveston or New Orleans. Now, before we pursue this line of thinking, let's dismiss the skeptics out there who think oil can't drop from the sky because oil doesn't evaporate. Actually, if you look at the history of hurricanes and storms, you'll find thousands of accounts of lots of things that don't evaporate, nonetheless falling out of the sky. The phrase, raining cats and dogs, well, it's an entirely metaphor, but there are documented accounts of these sorts of things coming down from the sky, fish, frogs, large balls of ice, and so on. Well, if rainstorms can pick fish up out of the ocean and drop them on land, then they certainly have the capacity to pick up the oil too. Besides, as any chemist will tell you, the various petrochemicals found in crude oil evaporate, even without a storm picking them up. Oil, in other words, does evaporate into the air. Or more accurately, some of the lighter chemicals in crude evaporate, even at temperatures of around 100 degrees. Ooh, wow. The Gulf is going up to 110, probably 120. We are in for a perfect storm. We have been trying to warn people that if God has not already hit delete and we're in the closing phase of it, he is soon to press the button. And I don't think people can wrap their minds around their own demise. But now is the time to start thinking about your own personal demise. Are you in Christ? Have you done what he said? Or are you just sitting on the fence? Better make up your mind. Because the Son of God, who created all this, according to John, is about to uncreate a good portion of planet Earth and the people on it. Now, he goes on in this article, kind of interesting. These lighter chemicals are more easily evaporated, also happen to have lower flash points, meaning that they catch on fire much more easily in lower temperatures than other elements of the oil. The flash point for gasoline, for example, is much lower than diesel fuel. That's true. You throw a match into a can of gasoline, you're going to have a major explosion. Toss a match into some diesel fuel and the match will go out. It won't even ignite. He says that, well, that's because gasoline is much more flammable, is a lighter fuel than diesel. The EPA classifies oils in classes A through D. Class A is the lightest kind of oil, which the EPA describes as these oils are highly fluid, often clear, spread rapidly on solid or water surfaces, have a strong odor, high evaporation rate, and usually are flammable. They penetrate porous mixtures such as dirt and sand and can be persistent in such a matrix. These same EPA documents make it clear that the more volatile oils can evaporate from crude, rendering the remaining oil heavier and more tar-like. And we already know that oils can catch fire, because that's the whole point of tapping crude in the first place. Okay, so now we have a hurricane, and the temperatures are up into 110 degrees, maybe a little higher, accelerating the evaporation of the volatile oils which get mixed in with hurricane-force winds. This hurricane makes landfall in New Orleans, let's say, dumping potentially hundreds of thousands of gallons of what is essentially volatile fuel on the city of New Orleans. Now, at first, it's just a wet, slippery, toxic mess, kills the trees and kills the grass. But what happens after the storm when the sun dries out of the city? All the dead trees killed by the oil turn into kindling. The sun evaporates off the rainwater, leaving behind fuel. A few days of sun baking, and you have a city doused in fuel ready to burst into flames. It is like a bomb. And you would have a lot of problems. I don't think people are understanding what any of this is really going to do. And I want to get into one other thing here before we get into the economic situation, which is very, very bad, folks. I know a lot of people think, well, the indicators are all getting up. There's a little hope here, a little hope over there. It's all manipulated. There's no hope. Zero. Zero hope. Get it through your mind. Zero hope. The American people are going to figure this out.